Welcome, welcome. It's English lessons time, and we're going to write a character description of our mythical beast today. Just to start us off, who would win this fight to the death? Would it be the griffin, budgie, lion crossover, or the proper griffin? I reckon it could be the proper one. Who knows? So we've been working on our mythical beast. We had started off with our description of or choosing our little pictures and cutting them in half and making some crazy beasts out of different sorts, and we're now on to, we made notes yesterday. Hopefully you've had a chance to see some mythical creatures and beasts in the Hercules film as well. Don't worry if you haven't. You can always go back and have a look at Monday's video again, which talks you through some of those creatures, the Nemean lion, the Stympalian birds. There's lots of weird and wonderful creatures in the myth of Hercules and his 12 labours. So we're going to think really hard of our Churchill value today, determination. We're also going to have really good determination to get through this lockdown time and working at home and in school as well. So you're going to read, you're going to use your determination to amaze your readers by creating these beasts that they can read about and make those up in their minds using their imagination. Because at the moment they're in ours and they're on our plans, but we now need to communicate that across by our writing. So we're going to do that. We've got to think back to thinking that we're writing for somebody that loves books like Matilda, or a year 2, maybe a year 4 actually, reader, because they're probably some of ours might be a bit scary for year 2 actually. But you know who you're aiming this at, and you're going to amaze them and wow them with your fantastic writing. So we're going to complete a whole description of our mythical beasts today, and we're going to write these in at the past tense. So it's as if we're telling a story, but we're not actually going to tell a story, but we're using the tense as if this has already happened. As we know, myths are come from ancient times as well, so it's always in the past. They're always written in the past tense, so it's really good to do your character description using the past tense, as if you're seeing that animal for the first time, and that's happened a while back, and it will become clear when I show you my version of it. So here's a little section of my plan yesterday, and I have the main one here that I showed you. It was a little bit fuzzy, but hopefully it helped you. I've seen some nice work actually being sent through with bullet points and not huge masses of writing, but just some really good ideas, and I've used that today to make my my character description. So I started with my plan. First of all, I had a look at the picture and the appearance of it. So I sectioned that piece off to really focus in on that bit. I read it all again as well, just to give myself a reminder, and it also helps you to sort out the bits that you didn't quite, that weren't quite finished, or you didn't really like that but you put it down anyway. So now is that time to really pick and choose what you really want to put in it from your plan. I changed mine quite a lot. Okay, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the look at the picture and the appearance of it, because that would be the first thing as you look at it. That would be the first thing that you would look at. You'd see it probably first. Maybe you would hear it first. But I think that would be the most stunning part of it. The most interesting part is what it's going to look like. So then I use bits from different sections that linked to those body parts. So for instance, I chose the weaknesses here. So when I described the tentacles on him, I also described his weaknesses at that time. So it's not just about writing these sections down one after the other. You're going to mix and match, and if you've, sorry, dogs are barking again. You're going to mix and match. So if you've got those here, then, and it refers to something, this one, if he's tentacles are on fire, it dries him out and he dies. He's tearing flesh here, and that might link to his claws on this side. So, you know, mix and match. So it's not just a, you know, one section at a time. You can, you know, make those links together. And will you spot these the things that I've changed today? Let's have a little look. So my plan, I had a look at it and I liked the simile, claws like knives, but I know I spoke about this yesterday on the video, that I preferred something like claws like daggers because it sounds more scary, and it's sort of, you know, it's sounding like a war weapon, which you'd probably need to go and fight an animal like this. So I chose also quite a big change to this one, that I didn't really think, when I'm writing about it, I'm often looking at the tentacles and the head. Didn't really sort of you don't really think that the tail of the crocodile brings anything more to it. It doesn't really, to me, add much more of a threat to my beast. If it had the long crocodile teeth, then that I might probably have kept that. But the tail of a crocodile, apart from whipping, it's not, you know, it's not massively impressive, and I want to impress my reader. So I just left it out. I thought, well, you know, if I didn't like it, I can always put it back in. I changed the simile, rough like tree bark. I like that simile, but instead of it describing the tail, I decided to change it to describing the rough octopus skin instead. So I've kept that in, but I've just used it on a different body part. So just to clear up how I've used my plan, I've picked and chosen the best bits and made the best parts better. I took out or changed bits that I wasn't happy with, and I reused a simile for something else. So if I liked something and it didn't quite work for that part, I could use it for something else. So I'm going to share our must, should, could and might with us now, so that you can spot some of these in the waggle. Okay, in the waggle. Waggle just means what a good one looks like. So it's just an example that should be, you know, quite a good one. So today what you're going to be tasked with is you must describe your mythical beast using the past tense. Okay, so as if it's already happened. You should use 2 or more similes to engage the reader. And I said I've used 2 already. I've got the claws like daggers and the rough like tree bark. Could add powerful adjectives, and hopefully you'll be able to spot some of those to how they feel, maybe to their the colours or something, or the sounds that they're making, or how they're moving. You can explain, you can add adverbs as well, so how they're doing something, so adjectives and adverbs, and you can improve verbs. So these are action words. So there's a few in here that I definitely, when I wrote them out first of all, I definitely thought, oh, do you know what, that's not really what I want. I want a better word to describe that. So instead of writing sliding across the floor, he was sliding on the rocky stones, I put that he was slithering, and I really like that. It was much better slithering than sliding. So if you can up level those just with your thinking, that would be great. If you can't, if you haven't got a thesaurus, you can use your thinking. If you have got a thesaurus, have a little look, although it does take a longer time to look that up, or go online and have a look at an online version, but stay safe. You can do that, or just choose, think of a better one. Just having that focus can help. And the evil dragon that's up there in the corner is saying, make it good enough for my pages. Might set light to you if you do, and if you don't. So I'm going to put the start on. I always like starting with something with at last. Very weird, I don't know. It's one of my little tricks of writing. At last we come to that stage where we're meeting the terrifying beast, but we're not writing a story. We're writing it as if we are in there a little bit, sort of like from our viewpoint, because obviously we're the writer. So, but we're not writing the story of what's happening with it. Okay, we're just writing what we've seen, what we hear, and what we know about it. So at last there it was, the terrifying beast with an enormous proud lion's head sitting on its strange orange slithering body. Hanging from its growling mouth were fearless fangs, still smeared with the blood of its last victim. Claws like daggers were showing from just one huge hairy paw that reached out to chop and slice. It looked terrifying. The smeared verb there on the third line down, I had that still dripping, first of all, still dripping with the blood of its last victim, and I thought smeared, I quite like the idea of having blood smeared around his face. It's quite gruesome. And also there is a short sentence here. Sometimes a short quick sentence, it looked terrifying, is enough. You've got all this language here, but actually it's nice to have a change of a short snappy, just one short snappy sentence. Below its neck were 8 long squelching and sucking tentacles that never seemed to stop moving. Like bendy orange wands, the suckers swung around in the air to seek out food, or were sliding in slime across the rocky ground beneath it. If you touched them, they sucked out your soul. However, those spiralling tentacles were exactly the monster's weak point too. Dry them out with fire so they'd become as rough as tree bark, and it would die a slow and pathetic death. I noticed actually that I did still put in sliding and slithering. I meant to change that one. And I have actually mentioned about the tentacles, but also I made that link between the spiralling tentacles and the appearance and what their weakness was. So I've matched that, merged that in together. Hopefully you spotted the similes in that section as well. So this is the end. There's 2 sections here that we just need to keep reading. And there's my suck scratcher picture there with my lion's head and a octopus body. He's missing his arm there. I think he's just tucked it behind him. He's got it in his pocket at the moment, I think. So we'll read the end of it. A strange small noise came from its lips. It honked in distress and turned away. To defend itself, it faded very slowly until it became totally invisible. In the gloom, though, its shadow was seen from the torchlight, and squelchy sounds echoed close by. All around it were the remains of its prey. They were grabbed and suffocated by terrible tentacles, then badly chewed up. The flesh had been torn from the bones, and deep scratches remained on them instead. This showed the might in its fierce jaws. It had sucked out their souls, used its cruel powers, and sneaked away, leaving chaos behind it. So, in that section, because I haven't actually described the monster there. I've described what it has done. Describing what's happening, you know, the mess that is the victims, can also be a way of you explaining that, you know, it's done that because of its, you know, its extra fierce jaws. So you can use that to help you explain more about it and the damage it's done to those victims. So we've been through this already. So you've got to describe it, past tense, similes, adjectives, verbs. Okay, it's quite a lot there to think about. But everyone can use and check this checklist today, and it's a tool that is included to help you as you write. The top ones are for a challenge for you. You've got to do the red bit, but, you know, to challenge yourself and put more into your work, you can, you know, pick out 1 or 2 of those. You don't have to do them in order. You can just improve your action words, or, you know, you don't have to do all of them. You can just pick 1 or 2 of those should, could and might ones. And then I've got a checklist here, and this is for everybody, and you can do this as you go. Is your writing readable? Is it neat and joined? Have you used capital letters and full stops in your sentences, and for names as well, if you're using his name in there? I can use paragraphs, so if you do change to you know, to the magical part of it, or his victim's part, or you know, how he sounds, then you can use a separate paragraph if you change that. You know, it's about when you change the central meaning of the next bit of work, next bit of writing. You can include those mythical powers that work for an ancient beast. Don't go putting them on aeroplanes or giving them mobile phones. because that won't work. And then you can check that you've checked on your checklist with your checklist. So you can tick and check on your checklist to check you've got everything checked. Okay. This is just a final one. That's what that you can print out. Just to give you a reminder, if you don't want to print that out today, no problem. Also, can you make a title? Make sure the title of your beast is at the top of the page. That's one of the things I always forget to do. So put yourself a little title with its name on, and if you want to, draw a final little picture of him at the bottom once you've done your lovely description. That would be marvellous. Okay, I hope that writing goes well for you today. Okay.